All right, what's up, Gobby?
Hey man, how's it going?
Doing pretty good. Contrary to popular belief, I'm not dead. I just woke up from a nap. Apparently, I didn't hear my alarm, so that explains the late start.
No worries.
All right, so we have a few people on. So I guess the topic of the show might be all things Devon.
Yeah, we can start like that. I wouldn't mind touching on the bottom eight bullshit.
Yeah. So I guess the last competition we saw from Devon was his match with Denis Aplinkov in Poland in November. Um, I mean, what are your high level thoughts on his performance there?
Yeah. Well, I actually went in believing that he can probably possibly fatigue Dennis going into like the later rounds by pumping up his hand because I believed he was a much more technical, proficient arm wrestler. But I still had him as a slight underdog, but wouldn't be shocked either way. And what we ended up seeing was just was somewhat alarming, only because Devin was never. Sometimes he went into matches where he was slightly weaker, but overcame it with endurance or versatility. This was the first time that I can remember where he was absolutely dominated on on pure physicality. It wasn't even close. I thought that was
Yeah, I'd agree. And I don't know. I was kind of torn coming into the match on whether Devin had a chance or not. When you look at some of the history, I mean, Dennis really hasn't lost many matches left hand. And I think most of the losses he's had left handed after so were probably um, context losses. You
right.
know, he had a war with this guy and a war with that guy, and then this guy was able to beat him. So it was essentially Devin, you know, undersized, underweight, natural athlete to get someone who's never really lost.
Hmm.
At the same time, I think we all want to believe that Devin can do anything. So, I think part of me thought Devin had a chance. Um, but man, I think the gap was huge,
Massive. Yeah, yeah. And you also,
and then
yeah, the format itself, you wanted to believe that would favor Devin the 6 rounds, and the way he fatigues and the way he tactically fatigues his opponent in the setup. So you believe that favored him, but it had no bearing whatsoever.
correct. And I mean, even in the press conference where they ended up getting on the table, um, you could see there's a huge power gap,
Yeah,
but you could also see that Dennis was pretty smart. I mean, anytime Devin went on the offensive or gained a higher technical ground on the table, Dennis let it go.
yeah,
He didn't just sit there grabbing and holding on to Devin like Devin expects people to do.
yeah.
He was quick to let go. He was quick to get out. And then when the actual matches came up, um, Dennis didn't really play into a lot of the setup games. Anytime Devin tried to engage or play the setup game, Dennis would let go.
Yeah.
Devin false starts, Dennis lets go. So Dennis didn't really waste any energy or generate any like excessive blood flow in the setup that would have helped Devin in the later rounds. So I thought it was interesting that Dennis seemed a lot smarter than I think most people would have given him credit for.
Yeah, his coaching was definitely on par. It was good. Yeah.
Um, so is there a situation where Devin has a chance against someone like Dennis?
Moving forward,
Yeah.
well, at his age and the fact that I believe, from a personal standpoint, without any, of course, proof, I believe he's a natural athlete. So he's going to have to do one of two things. He's either going to have to drop down and just stay in the 220 division, or he's going to have to get on something. And because he is an underweight super heavyweight, so he'll either have to get on something and gain weight around 255, 260, 265, 270, or drop down and dominate or try to dominate the 225s. But let's face it, he's declining. I mean, with age alone, he's slowly transitioned from an all around powerful arm wrestler who can win a super match in any form to now, kind of like with that wild card kings move, he's relying on all those tactics. You saw it with Michael Todd. Jerry was actually was a different match. He did some amazing things from a physical standpoint, albeit dominated the setup. But I think he's transitioning into a different type of arm wrestler, relying on more of the intangibles than the tangibles. But I think that's part and parcel with just getting older in a strength sport.
So you say as of right now, Devon is a weaker athlete than he was a few years ago.
I believe so. Yeah. Well, a few years ago, he was coming off. At one point, he was coming off surgery, and then he flattened out. But I mean, yes, at 44, he's weaker than he was at 41. I mean, you know.
Correct. That's interesting. I mean, I think we typically say that, arm wrestling is something you can, well, I guess ever, but I mean, you've had people like John Brezink and Todd Hutchings that you could argue improved in their 40s.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And even like maybe Todd, he's improved into his 50s.
Yeah. But that's,
I think Todd at 51 is better than what he was in his 40s.
Well, his move is better. Like he's really mastered that move. But I mean, it's hard to gauge where he's stronger. I mean, is he stronger generally as a man? I doubt it. Is his compound lifts in the gym stronger? I doubt it. He's just that move. I mean, that move, like Devon said in one of his videos, that move only gets better with practice and experience. You're better at that move in year 15.
Okay, so I'm talking about Todd Hutchings.
Oh, Todd Hutchings. Sorry, I was thinking of Michael.
Yeah, Michael Todd is maybe 40, I think, but Todd Hutchings has seemed to improve even as he's crossed 50.
Yeah, well, he's my most interesting subject to talk about, only because he's the anomaly, and I think he's got the tangibles and the intangibles, and I think he attacks the sport, the training aspect of the sport much differently. Unlike Devon, and they're roughly, well, he's a little bit older than Devon. Well, Devon's looking for a tactical advantage to win matches now that he's a little bit older. He's using, his brain a little bit more. He's using stamina. He's using angles. Todd is still, let me get it inside. He's just going sideways like a diesel, right? And seemingly, he's better at that now than he was 3 years ago. He's better at that 3 years ago than he was 10 years ago. So it's just
Correct.
really fast. He's done with age.
Yeah. So we've discussed Devon declining, having trouble in the super heavyweights. So without drugs, is there a way that Devon becomes better on the world stage? Or are we going to just watch Devon, I don't know, fall off a cliff at this point from a performance standpoint?
Yeah. Well, he's definitely, he will actually, if you're talking 225 class or super heavyweight class at the world stage, I think there's no longer even a debate that he cannot compete in the super heavyweight class world division, world stage. I believe even at the 225 division, he's going to struggle to be the number one man on the world level. Now, that doesn't mean Wall can't shoehorn him into certain super matches where he can dominate and look great based on styles and based on matches. But I think it's going to be, unless he does something, there's going to be a slow decline coming his way in the next 3 to 5 years. I think it's inevitable. Unless he does something.
Yeah, I wonder how easy it is for Devon to make 225. I mean, I know he did it for a couple of years, but I'm curious if that is either difficult or even counterproductive from a general health standpoint. As a natural athlete, I'm kind of coming to the conclusion that you might need to run heavier than someone that cuts. So like across the board, you're at a disadvantage because you can't recover from, you're actually hurting yourself by mass.
Right.
So I'd be curious if Devon thinks 225 is a legit option across the board, Yeah.
Well, yeah, I believe.
So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Who are the best 225? So I know you said Devon, but I'm curious as to what the field looks like that he'd be competing against.
Wall or world?
Well, world.
World. Well, Krasi.
So Krasimir?
Yeah. Sasho. I mean, I think both these guys walk around anywhere between 215 and 230. Maybe Kraz is a little bit heavier. But
yeah, I think this year, I think Krasi's he walked into Zloty at 209.
Okay.
But at times he walks at 230.
Okay.
Man, I don't know if Sasho is that heavy.
Yeah, he might not be.
Yeah, so he might be 200 pounds, which would tell me that there's another Sasho out there that's 230 pounds, right? Whether he's Ukrainian or Bulgarian, or from wherever.
Yeah. Yeah. There's also that Vitaly Lilitev, very, very tall, very
Larratt,
incredible.
yeah, Vitaly Larratt.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's probably around 260.
Oh, is he that?
So now, yeah. So maybe in the super heavyweight segment, that would be a possible matchup for Devon, but it doesn't seem like a good matchup.
No. No.
Did you see the practice video of them pulling on the table, side table at PAL?
I did not. No. No.
Oh man, I wish I could pull that up.
Was that? Are you talking about Devon?
Yeah, Devon and Vitaly pulling on the side table at Zlotty.
No, I didn't. Wow, what happened?
Yeah, Vitaly seemed to control him everywhere on the table.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, you know, that doesn't mean everything.
No.
But Vitaly had a lot of good adjustments. He adjusted high, he adjusted low, extremely good hand control. Yeah. Devon ended up slipping, I think, on most of the starts that they did. So I don't know if you get him in this trap, it would be much different. But yeah.
Also, it
did look great.
The difference in North America, 225, is Devon's a runner now. Devon's essentially become a runner first, and that seems to work very well in the United States. But it seems like I found when you cross the ocean and you pull the elite guys in the world in Europe, that running stuff, you can't get away from their power. They're really, really good at getting their hook in, getting their power in, and you almost have to beat them there, seemingly. So I don't think you're going to see him at the world stage. I think he's going to stay in North America and pull wall and have super matches in that form.
Yeah, that's kind of unfortunate because I think we probably the fans missed out on Devon's prime with WAL. You know, I think Devon made some pretty good money, but from a sport legacy standpoint, he's still great. He's still one of the best ever, but I think it could have been maybe far greater, or we didn't get to see the true peak of Devon on the world stage. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's kind of one of my issues with the lockdown league is that you don't get to see a lot of the stuff.
Right.
And if we start seeing the matches now, let's say Devon ventures out more now, it's not the same thing. No. You know, Devon 5 years ago against Gennady is not the same thing as Devon now against Gennady or Vitaly or Ivan Matyushenko or any of these guys.
Yeah. As Hutchins gets older and Brzezinski got older into his mid to late 40s, they didn't change stylistically. Devon's changing stylistically. I'm almost curious that if at one point he'll revert back to a power first arm wrestler, which he did like back in 2006, 2008, when he pulled David Randall, when he pulled Michael Todd that first time in Manchester, England. I'd love to see him do that. I don't know if he thinks that's in his best interest or he just doesn't think it's the way he needs to go to become the top of the elites again.
Yeah, I think when we compare that group, like you mentioned earlier, we have to factor in the PEDs and stuff like that. I mean, some of those guys had, things to extend their career, whereas it seems Devon's not on the same level. And then Devon's surgeries, yeah, I don't know if he still can maintain some of those angles, at a higher level. Mm-hmm. I'd assume that the elbow has a lot more slack in it now, possibly, but I don't know. Maybe it's tighter. Yeah.
He just seems less apt to go into those deep hook matches. It seems like his first move always is that outside, high levered, non-shoulder committal top roll type deal.
Correct. So let's say Devon's on the world stage. How do you think he does against Krasimir at 230?
Oh, I think he loses. Yeah, because I don't believe he's going to be able to get out of the hand. I don't believe he's going to be able to. If we're talking rigid rules, like at the world level, he's definitely fucked. If we're talking wall rules, with the wall pads, there's a little bit of play where he can drive back. He can do some things that's more in his favor. But I think with rigid rules, there's no way. He will have to go into the power of that guy, and I don't think it's going to work out well. I don't favor him at all. You?
Yeah, and again, I think we all have the Devon bias where we think Devon can do anything. But yeah, it probably wouldn't look good. And I think about I try to find common competitors, right? So Tim Bresnan pulled Rustem, right?
Yeah.
and Rustem, I mean, gave Tim all he could handle for the most part. So is Devon now stronger than a 330-pound Tim Bresnan?
I don't believe so.
Yeah, so it's hard to believe, right? So then the question would be, can Devon technically get around Rustem?
Well, I think that there lies the problem is, can I get around these guys? I think if you're pulling the elite of the elite and your tactic is I got to get around them, I got to go around them, I think you're in trouble from a philosophical standpoint. I just don't think that works. It works. Maybe Matt Mass can do it. Like he can do it maybe, but I'm not. I don't think Devon can do that anymore. Not against.
Correct. And I mean, even Tim couldn't fully roll Rustem, right?
No.
So, and Tim's got a ton of pronation. I mean, Tim doesn't really get hooked like that. So, yeah, it's kind of interesting, now that we have these discussions, on where Devon is probably on the world stage. Because, I mean, it wasn't long ago where people would have said, without a doubt, he's number one right and left hand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he can arguably go down as the greatest of all time only because he held those two right and left titles simultaneously for about a 2 to 3 year gap. He wasn't as dominant as John Brzenk for John Brzezink's prime years, but I mean, he's in the argument. So you have to give him his due. I just think I always he knows more than me. He's a great arm wrestler and he thinks great. His IQ is off the charts. I'm always asking myself, is his training philosophy always the best? I thought always, especially in the last 4 or 5 years, he should dial down the table and up his gym work. I think all the volume and all the pulling and relying on the table solely for gaining all his horsepower and gaining his strength might have impeded some of his muscular strength and might have helped to in all his elbow injuries. So I don't know.
So let's say Devon crossed the line, went full PED package. I mean, what do you think that looks like?
Well, he will. He absolutely will. I have no doubt about that. And what it looks like if he does it right, and he will, is 265, 268, 263, in that range.
I thought he had kind of hit that number going into PAL.
I don't believe he was in that. I don't think he was that heavy. And if he was a soft 260, very soft.
Okay, yeah.
I think he'll go into something like human growth hormone where he can heal a lot quicker. He can retain more muscle mass and a higher muscular composition to his body. I believe it'll be something along the lines of 265 with a much lower body fat percentage.
So let me ask you this. Let's say he peaks out on the PEDs. If his tactics are still the same, he's still evading and he's still trying to run for the King's move, does this work?
He won't. I don't think he will. No, the King's move won't work. I don't care how much shit's in your body. Not against certain pullers. I think he'd revert more to I'm not saying he'd never do it. I think you'd see the 2010 version of Devon again in a 265 pound version. I think you'd see more inside. Maybe you'd see more top rolling as well. You'd see a lot more strap, but I don't think you'd see as much of that outside garbage that we've been seeing in the last couple of years. Only because I think he claims it's a great move and I think he goes there because he feels he has to go there. I don't think anyone decides to go there. Mike Todd goes there because he has to. Crazy George goes there because he has to. No one decides. No one starts in the arm wrestling world at 21 and says, "Fuck it, hook top roll." No, I want to become a King's move guy. No one does that. It's not pretty. It's not widely respected. And despite what they say, I don't think they find much honor in it. I think there's just something they have to revert to be competent, to be efficient on the table.
Correct.
To be competitive.
Roger Kangingham has a comment saying that maybe Devon's focus is on the betterment and growth of arm wrestling.
Yeah, he's an awesome guy. You can argue he's a better teacher. He's a better promoter than he is athlete at this junction in his career. And he's an awesome dude, and he's doing great things. So yeah, he'll be in the sport for another 20 years, regardless of the capacity he's in.
Yeah, and I mean, I've seen just with some of the YouTube videos and some of the analytics that Devon seems to be bigger than arm wrestling.
Yeah, Yeah.
You know what I mean? You make an arm wrestling video, few people look at it. You make a Devon Larratt video, everyone looks at it.
Yeah.
I mean,
John,
it's completely different. Like, he has his own sort of image and persona and all of that stuff. And I don't think many people have that.
yeah. I got the impression that John Brzezinski, when he slowly started to retire, he was losing the taste for arm wrestling, and he just faded, and he faded big time. I think Devon just loves the sport, regardless of if he declines or if he stops competing at a certain level. I just think he loves the sport as much as anyone, and we didn't see that with John as he slowly retired.
Yeah, John was, I don't think John was ever the coach that Devon was. Right? So Devon's always going to be around, even if it is just him coaching people and helping people, right?
Yeah.
That was never John's thing.
No, it wasn't John's fault.
At the same time, John also went full tilt and beat everybody.
Yeah.
You know, no leagues, no restrictions, none of that stuff. He beat every single body.
Yeah.
We got a comment from Chuck Ryder saying that Devon is borderline retirement. Yeah, I don't know, man. And it's kind of odd to have these discussions and say that Devon's probably, not a top super heavyweight on the world scene, and probably not number one even at 225. But I guess that's natural progression of an athlete, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're not on PEDs, I mean, at some point you're going to have to, take the step down, right?
And the good news for the sport is I think he'll have a bigger impact as he declines. As he gets older, he'll have a bigger impact on the sport as a promoter / trainer / YouTube guy than he will ever had as an athlete. I think you're going to see that in the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah. What do you think about all the YouTube stuff and the Juji Mufu and building the online presence?
Yeah, that's him slowly transitioning and also trying to make some money on the side, using his character, using his name, using his popularity to make a little bit of extra income. As we all know, he's retired from the military, and I think it fits in perfect. He's super popular. He's charismatic. He's highly analytical, highly intelligent. Yeah, it works. It's all good. I don't know what's really going on with that bottom 8 crap. Like, that seems to really be a little bit below him, but he seems to be on board. And I really don't know what his complete agenda is with that, but we'll see in time.
Yeah. What do you think about the sideshow stuff in general? You think it's good for the sport?
Anything that generates conversation, anything that generates any type of social media excitement, conversation is definitely good for the sport. Is it legit? Will it come to fruition? That I don't know, but it's definitely good. Anything's good. Anything that like the rankings. People complain about the rankings, but even if the rankings are skewed and they're inaccurate, and this, as long as people are talking about something, it has merit, right? It's good. It's good for the sport. It promotes conversation, regardless of its merit or accuracy. And that's the same thing when it comes to his videos, or any really, like, if you look at Artem, any people that are doing these podcasts or these YouTube videos, they're all good. It's all good for the sport. Joshua and John Brown, anytime we can get on Facebook and it's boring and we can talk, chat, debate, argue, troll, it doesn't matter. It's good for the sport. It promotes excitement. It promotes activity. It's all good. There is no negative.
Yeah. So, but in particular with the sideshow stuff, I mean, so we're not a sport that is small, that everyone thinks is legitimate. I mean, we're a sport that everyone thinks is illegitimate, right, and not real. So my concern is with the sideshow stuff is that's what people are going to latch onto and go, oh yeah, this sport is a joke.
Well, no, because with that we have our world championships, we have wall, and I think if you look at any sport, bowling, darts, it doesn't matter what it is. We don't see it because we're not part of that online community. But if all of a sudden you, went in or tried to circumvent that world, you would see that they would have that aspect too. You would have a whole bunch of these bowling junkies, amateur novice / bowling junkies with YouTube channels that get together and talk shit. And I think it would be the same. Any niche sport. Well, bowling's not a niche sport; it's a legit sport. But I mean, any sport, powerlifting, bodybuilding, anything on its lower level has a social media outlet, and you see these things.
So specifically about the bottom 8, I mean, is that real? Are you involved? Are you going to compete in it?
I'm not involved in terms of its promotion. My name has been mentioned competing in it, and if there's money, if Ryan Bowen puts in money and there's money, I'll I'll throw my hat in the ring if it's legit. I'm not sure it's legit because it doesn't make sense to me. I can't see Devon getting a sponsor to bring Artem up. I know Craig can't. I don't believe Craig can cross the border. Who's the other one? Mac Telly, I know cannot cross the border. Evan Bogoyan's rarely even sober.
So if they just, so I guess they took off on the idea, but the logistics aren't there.
And let's face it, even if this thing just runs for the next 3 months and there's talk and chatter and it never legitimizes, like it's still good. Like it's still, people are talking about it. It still causes conversation. But if I'm a betting man, like if you had sponsor money, okay, if Devon gets X amount of sponsor money, are you really going to throw it towards the lower end pro, high end amateur guys? Like I understand promoting it on YouTube, promoting it because it's free, and why not? You're getting, and look who's getting involved. He's getting me involved. I'm a hell of a troll. He's getting people involved that have kind of like more or less strong YouTube or strong Facebook personality. So it creates talk and chatter for his channels and stuff like that. But I don't believe it's going to happen. It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. So if it actually happened, when they're throwing around money for this event, that's kind of what concerns me from a arm wrestling awareness standpoint, or even just a value standpoint. So if you had money and you're going to fly people to Canada and you're going to put $1,000 on the line or some sum of money, wouldn't you rather see a 200-pound North American shootout or something?
Yeah, if you have the money to bring an American up, I would love to see you and Alex Paquette. Like I would, if I had my money, if I had sponsor, I'd want to see you come up. I'd want to see an elite guy that we don't see that often against an elite Canadian or even another American. But that's, I think, who the fuck wants to see Mac Telly and Evan Bogoyan? I mean, Mac's a clown. Evan's a legit arm wrestler, don't get me wrong. But a lot of these guys are clowns. Like Laba's a cool guy, but I'm not going to pay to see Jonathan Laba on the table. I'd rather see him behind a stand-up mic, right, on stage. I don't want to see him on an arm wrestling table. I'm not going to pay to see Mac Tell do his shit. Artem's legit. He's awesome. I'd love to have a super match one day with Artem. I'll pull Ryan. But like as a spectator, I wouldn't want to pay to see these matches. I mean, not when you can get like RVJ, you, or I don't know if these guys are still contracted, but there's so many compelling matches to see out there at an elite pro level. If you have the money to spend to bring the guys up, why would you mess around with these lower level guys? I don't know. I don't see the value. And like you said, it's definitely not credible. It doesn't add to the credibility of our sport.
Yeah. So can you beat Ryan Bowen?
You ask me a question, you get an honest answer. I cannot beat him with my right arm. He's right dominant. I'm left dominant, and I'm sitting at around 160 right now, 158, 160. I think he's over 200. I'll pull him. I won't pull him. I won't use my own money, but I'll pull him. I'll pull him for fun. I'll pull him with someone else's money, and I'm not scared of him. And he'll beat me, but I'll still pull him. But I have to admit that he beat me. Yeah, he beat my right, and I'm okay saying it. He has progressed. He's not a clown. But my right took second 176 in Michigan State. My right is not a great arm. It takes losses against low-end pros at low-end pro events. My left can give up weight. My left can do kind of cool things and pull super heavyweights and stuff. My right cannot do that. And as I get older, the right's taking on more injuries than the left because it has to force more just to like compete. The left can, the left seems to be like Todd Hutchins once said, you have less injuries when you're just stronger than everyone else. But my right arm doesn't have that advantage. It has to go, and even against mid-level pros or high-level amateurs, my right has to work to win matches. It has to work hard. So he would beat me, and I'm okay saying it. I still think he's a joke.
In your defense, I'm not sure that I can beat Ryan. I mean, I saw a video of Ryan with 200 pounds of up pressure.
Oh, come on, man.
There's a real video. He has 200 pounds of hammer curl up pressure. Like, I mean, he would just crack my hand open.
Yeah, these are one of the few times I'm not sure if you're fucking or trolling with me. Like, I have a feeling you are because I don't believe he's that strong. I've seen his video.
It's a real video. I think, but I also think that the video may make one of my videos on my channel, or it may make one of our maybe one of our training highlight videos.
Yeah.
But he lifted 200 pounds up pressure.
I'd have to see it. But he also got smashed by Dan Moser. He got smashed by Justin. He's got no side pressure. Even my right's not that good. If I got my cup in and he couldn't pronate and he had to deal with my side pressure, he would lose. He has no side pressure. He has a very, very good hand, but he doesn't have a bicep and he's got no side pressure.
But could you imagine me getting flopped in the straps and just kind of bouncing off his arm?
I don't think you'd feel him, Herm. Come on, man. Come on. You wouldn't feel him. Like, he has progressed. He's not a joke. He's not a novice. He claims that I hate him. I don't hate him. I don't hate anyone. It's more of a question of respect. It's not a question of hate. I mean, I'd have to hate someone. It's almost like you have to give a shit. I don't. He's a promoter. He sells his name. But what has he done? Like when people talk, like, just show me what you've done. What have you won? And don't give me I've won Australian nationals. Holy fuck, man. Like, it's like, come on.
Dude, they keep throwing around that whole Australia thing.
Yeah. Fuck. It's like making the national baseball team for Ethiopia. Well, I made the team. Yeah, it's fucking Ethiopia. Like, it's fucking Australia. Arm wrestling. Like, Australian arm wrestling isn't synonymous with greatness across the world. Like, fuck.
I mean, I don't even tell people that I won a U.S. national title.
Yeah.
Let alone an Australian national title.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. But he's a good guy. He's doing good things. He's not evil. He's not malicious. He's promoting. He's traveling. He's paying for people to travel. He's a good guy. You can argue he does more things to the sport than I do, and he would beat my right. I just think, when he got in the sport, he was yapping about how technique trumps power, and I just laughed at him. At that point there, I lost complete respect for him because it's totally illogical to think that way, and he was proven wrong. Like, when he loses to Dan, he lost to Justin. It's because he lacks that brute strength, side pressure stuff that you need at an elite level. Despite having a fairly elite hand, he's being exposed on that level. So I proved him right. And I watched one of his videos where he's stating that at this point now he's got to work on side pressure and stuff. So I've gained respect for him just on the fact that he's changing his philosophy. But what is he?
Yeah, he's not a terrible arm wrestler. I mean, Dan beat him. I mean, fairly easy, but Dan had to work. He stopped Dan a couple times. Dan had to make second adjustments. So he didn't get completely blown off the table or anything like that.
But on my arm wrestling scale of 1 to 5, where is he? He's a poor man's 3 or a 2. Like, he ranges in that 2 to 3 where most guys do. But he's not in the 4 or 5s. He's not. He's a 2 that has yet to prove to be a 3. That's where he sits. He's a proven 2. Arguably, he can be a 3, maybe with the right circumstance. But he's a fucking 2. Like, he's a 2. He's a high-end am. He's never made arm wrestling. He's never made money arm wrestling. He's won nationals. He's won super matches in Australia. Never for money. Like, he's never won a big purse. He's never brought down a purse. He's never gone to wall and finished high enough to make money. You can't be a 3. He's a 2. He's a high-end am, very low-end pro, from my definition, from my standpoint. Carrying a camera and traveling all over the world and sleeping on Devon's couch doesn't make you an elite arm wrestler. Paying John Brzezinski to come on your show does not make you an elite arm wrestler. It makes you popular. It doesn't make you elite.
So if you're a 6'2", 210-pound number 2 level arm wrestler, and you're calling out 160-pound 3-4.
Well, 3. 3. At least my right hand.
So if you're a 200-pound level 2 and you beat a level 3 160-pound guy, do you become level 3 then? Is that how it works?
No, because I'm not in his range, right? I'm not. You'd have to prove it against someone in your weight class, and I'm not even in his weight class. For him, it's just a vendetta match. It's just to prove me wrong. You're not proving me wrong. You can beat me and still be a shit arm wrestler. He's avoiding my left and this and that, and like, he can beat me and he probably will beat me, but he proves nothing. Like, he'll use it as a way to promote himself and try to humiliate me. He won't humiliate. He won't humiliate me. I won't give up on the table. I won't pin myself, and he can pin me. I won't find it humiliating at all. I know who I am. I know what I've done. I got no beef.
Can he? Do you think he can crack the top 20 in North America?
Hell no. I think stylistically he can pull a guy like Scott Ballinger. Okay, I think he can take Scott's hand backwards because he's got a great hand, and we have arm wrestlers that don't have great hands. But would he beat Scott? Hell no. Scott would get him in the strap and slam him right across the table. So he can look pretty good versus certain people because he's got a good hand. Like, he's got an above average hand for his weight. But his arm is so weak, so under average, that at a higher level, even top 20, I don't think he's able to. He's not going to be able to. No, he definitely doesn't crack top 20. Not when you have such a big deficiency in the sport. His arm is way too weak to crack the top 20. Doesn't mean he can't look good at certain matches or, but there's no way he's cracking the top 20. No.
What else do we have on the agenda, Gobby?
I had an interesting conversation the other day with Joshua Grant. There was the NHL All-Star activities, and there was a female pro hockey player that did really well in the skills competition in terms of speed, and he claimed that she can crack the men's game. She can play NHL level with the men, and I'm like, that's ridiculous because it's still a contact sport. And I just think when you're talking about, combat or contact sports, you'll never see a woman compete with a man.
And was she really as fast?
I think there was gimmicks involved. I don't believe she was. I didn't see it. But there's no way when you bring in the physicality, when you bring in body checks, when you bring in the wear and tear of an 82 game schedule, playing against 6'1", 220-pound men, steady, getting body checked, and she's what, 5'6", 135. It's just a joke. I mean, it was good to promote the sport, but the fact that a somewhat intelligent man took that stance, I found it shocking, and I said to myself, I have to at least mention it because it's laughable to think that a woman can play rugby with men, football with men, hockey with men, darts, sure, bowling, I doubt it, but hockey with a contact sport, absolutely not. I mean, you don't even see it in tennis. I mean, Serena Williams couldn't be the number 75th best man. She couldn't be, and she's by far the number one female tennis player. And that's not even a contact sport. It's just.
Wait, are you throwing that ranking out, or did they do an exhibition match or something?
No, I'm just throwing that out.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, there are plenty of guys that are as skilled or more skilled than the pro players that couldn't make it because they weren't big enough to or rugged enough to handle the season, right?
Right.
I mean, I know there are guys out there who are like super fast, dead shots, but they were 5'7", 170 pounds, right? They get crushed, they get injured, and they wouldn't be able to make it through the season.
No.
So then you take a female who may not have any of those skills or may not be as fast, and then who's even smaller, then they wouldn't qualify either because there are guys that don't qualify.
Yeah. And a good example is basketball is not quite as physical as hockey, but it's still a contact sport. And if you take Lisa Leslie, who was arguably one of the best WNBA players we've seen, and you put her in the NBA, I mean, fuck, she can hit free throws, but she couldn't. Well, she wouldn't even get to the line. But like her stat line would be so low, and the team would end up losing because it makes no sense. And we're not even talking football, rugby. We're talking even baseball. A woman couldn't hit the ball that far. She couldn't throw the ball in from right field as fast. Like it just wouldn't work. It's a poor argument, and I was shocked that a guy with above average intelligence made such an argument.
So I was going to segue into this, and Eric Rusin has kind of brought it up already. So have you pulled an elite female arm wrestler, and how would you compare that to a male arm wrestler? So, for instance, Eric is saying that a level 5 female arm wrestler could compete with many level 2 male arm wrestlers.
Wow. Yeah.
And you have to factor in weight classes too, because I mean, like the frames are just different.
Yeah, we've seen that with Sarah beating that dude from Florida. Like a 5 can go into a 150-pound 5 can go into a Maine State men's 154, pull 1s and 2s. Well, definitely beat 1s, beat 2s. Simply because of her hand and technique and stuff like that. But when you start talking about 3s, I don't think so.
Yeah, Eric is saying a 154-pound Sarah Rotunda could compete against Ontario level 2 pullers.
2s?
I don't know, man. You got the powerhouses that are even level 2s. You know what I mean?
I'm not sure. I'm not saying she can't take a win on one. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying if you put her in a tournament with 12 guys that are number 2s, she's not winning it. Will she win a couple matches with the lower guys? The guys that maybe couldn't match her setup, or for sure she can take some wins. There used to be an amazing Vermont arm wrestler named Heather Penbrook between 2003, 2008. And I remember she would consistently pull 154 men's, and she would never win the class, but she would always take a couple of wins. So you can see that. Just like you can take the strongest female powerlifter on earth, bring her into an amateur powerlifting competition, and she can do okay. But you're comparing oranges to apples. You're no longer comparing apples to apples.
And have you pulled an elite female arm wrestler?
Yeah, in 2005, 2005, I was in Tokyo, Japan, and on the practice table there was the Russian. She was huge. She was over 6 foot tall. She must have been over 250 pounds, and she was on the practice table. I forget her name. Later in 2006, she actually went to Vegas at that big tournament where John beat Fareed. Anyway, so she was pulling a whole bunch of people, and I just said, I got to go and see, because she was just dominating everyone. She had a big, strong hand. And, I already pulled a tournament, and in 2005, it was nowhere close to as strong or refined as I am now. And she couldn't push me off center, my right arm. So I don't know. Now, if she was able to kind of like take an edge on my hand, she'd probably be able to pin me. Like if she was able to get an angle on my hand, just like Sarah or Erica would do with a number 2. All you need is a little bit of hand, and you can, you can take a guy down with a little bit of time. But if you can't do that, Sarah beat Brandon. It was Brandon Morris. She beat him on a video, but I have to believe he was fatigued. It was,
Yeah, I think that was an overall. That was an overall for sure. He was definitely burned.
Yeah.
So did you have success with the Russian lady after the side table pulling?
Well, actually, we went to the bar and got drunk and actually slept with her. I haven't told many people this, but I did sleep with her. Yeah. I said to myself, I had to make the calculation, right? When in my life will I ever have a chance to have sexual intercourse with an elite level gold medal athlete? And the answer was like 0. So even though she was a rough 250, I said, fuck it, I'm never going to be in this situation again. And there you go. I don't regret it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Anything else, Gobby?
Actually, I think we're feeling nice and light tonight. It's almost like the passenger car is nice and light. Like we've shedded some dead weight tonight. Don't you find? It's nice to Joe interrupting me every fucking 6 minutes, but yeah, poor guy.
Yeah, he had practice, right?
Yeah.
And it's negative 60 degrees or something.
Yeah, we'll get him next time. He's a good cat. He was actually worried that you were late. He was actually worried that when we couldn't get in touch with you. He's a sweet kid.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know what happened. I mean, I've been up since midnight, so I guess once I took a nap, I essentially died for a short period of time.
Yeah, it's all good, man. In my head, all these worst case scenarios, like Herm got into a car accident, this, because it's rare for you not to, in a situation like that, not being reachable. But yeah, so it's all good. I figure it's usually something like that where someone fell asleep or their phone died or something like that. No big deal.
Yeah, I guess next time he can't make it, we can just have the dog on.
Yeah, or just a black square, right? Like just fuck it, just black him right out. Yeah,
we tried to get Kangs on, but he's babysitting.
Yeah, we definitely got to start bringing in guest callers every now and then, guest hosts.
Yeah, I think Doug's ready to go. I think Rob Vigent would be a good one.
You and Rob on the same show would be fucking amazing.
Yeah. I've already had way too many back and forths through email with Rob about the last show. He was ticked, to say the least.
Okay.
Yeah. So we definitely got to get Rob on the show.
Do you think he would come on?
Yeah. With most people, I think I don't know the technical hurdles.
Okay.
But I think he would come on. I think we have enough credibility that we'd probably get people like Rob on, even if he didn't want to. You know what I mean?
Devon, we can get Devon on. I can get Devon.
Yeah, we definitely get Devon on. Yeah.
Artem, I mean, even that clown Laba. I mean, if we can get Evan sober for 3 hours or fuck it, even 20 minutes, he'd be pretty good on the show. I mean, just anyone with a little bit of edge and any little bit of character would be good. Why not?
Yeah. All right, you ready to wrap it up?
Yeah, we're good.
All right, later, man. See you next week.
Take it easy, Arm.